and we want to thank you very much for your welcome and your hospitality. Yesterday, we managed to have a lot of meetings and to consider areas where we can be able to learn from each other. As a country, Kenya, we discovered many areas that we can learn from Indonesia. And also, we identified several areas where we think Indonesia can learn from Kenya. But let me first of all mention that we see this as a very long-term relationship. We want to create a long-term relationship because what brings us together and joins us is determination to have some courage. Some of the things that you are doing, for example, the ban of the export of raw material requires some courage and some determination. And you have mentioned that the president of Indonesia is leading the way and stamping his foot on the ground in terms of performance. And I want to confirm to you that is the same kind of leadership we have from President Ruto. Within a very short period of 8 months since our new government came to place, we have managed to change a lot of things, even amidst a very difficult situation in the world. As you know, Honorable Minister, the world is going through a lot of challenges right now. You mentioned, and we are very excited to note, that you managed to keep inflation very low, despite the fact that elsewhere in the world, inflation is at all-time high. And some countries, especially in Africa, we are paying a very huge price for the inflation that is not manufactured in Africa, inflation that is manufactured elsewhere. But because of that, our currencies are suffering, and our macroeconomic indicators are taking a hit because of inflation happening elsewhere. So it will be interesting also to learn from you. How did you keep inflation low, even when inflation is very high in the dominant economies of the world? There must be some secret, and I promise you, I will not go back to Kenya until you give me the secret. Because this is very, very remarkable, really, how you manage to keep inflation very, very, very managed, and how you manage to keep your exchange, your currency in a good situation. We also note the very good indicators on some of the topics which are of interest to us in Kenya, on the manufacturing, general manufacturing, in the textile and apparel, which is another area of interest for us, but also on the exports. We realize that your exports have been growing, and you quickly managed to overcome the contraction that happened during the pandemic. So that's another area where we hope to learn from you. How did you turn the curve very quickly, and how can we be able to work together on this? So really a lot of lessons that for us we can learn on the macroeconomic front, on the inflation, on the currency, on the manufacturing, on the exports. So very similar ambitions that we have. We notice also that, like Kenya, you have a very elaborate strategy on fiscal and non-fiscal incentives. The special economic zones is a mirror of also the special economic zones that we have in Kenya. We also have our export processing zone, and indeed the chief executive and the chair of our export processing zones, they are part of my delegation here, because we believe that we have to continue giving incentive to investors, to manufacturers, to exporters, to make Kenya a destination of choice. And so therefore, we would want to take this remaining time of our visit to benchmark on the fiscal and non-fiscal incentive that Indonesia is offering to investors and compare that with what we are offering within our special economic zones, within our export processing zones. And now, from this year, we are now devolving these incentives to all the 47 regions of Kenya through our county aggregation and industrial park, where every region is going to have its mini special economic zone, so that we can have growth that is inclusive and growth that is distributed all over the country as we look to take off our economic journey. Now, on the B2B situation, we had a good time yesterday. We met a lot of meetings that were prepared for us by your team. We are very delighted, from the area of batteries to mining to blue economy to edible oil, and also this morning with a team from the railways. And we hope to continue that with other meetings in the area of textile, in the area of pharmaceutical. So really, I see a very strong opportunity, a very rich opportunity for us to work together, not only on the macroeconomic level, but also on B2B. And I mentioned to your team yesterday what motivated us to come for this reciprocal visit very quickly after your visit in January and ahead of the visit to Kenya by the President of Indonesia, hopefully in July, is your approach, which is also the mirror of the approach of President Ruto and the government of Kenya. Very practical approach, where as we quickly establish our relationship on government to government, we let our business people move and create business-to-business relationship. But also, I want to commend you and your team for very close monitoring and follow-up. All these agreements that we enter, all these visits, can be meaningless if we do not have a strict process and framework for monitoring and evaluation and for follow-up to ensure that all these wonderful ideas come to conclusion. We hope to conclude all these discussions with a way forward on preferential
Inere tarayaye Moses kudia sense media Indonesia soko bwatrana Ense ya Kenya na bwo kweneki obokoreri ngwikira na bole anamono asoko tingia uchumi na bwo bonchiriya gati chinse chibere baigo asense mende ne omara ibense beteka gutarire Ense media Israel asoko bwatrana na bwo kweneki anaro ase ensemo ya uchumi na kigo chibonchiriya namono asoko rusibinto kora sense ya Kenya anangochi asenseli ya Israel gukwana ni gabetega kwene kimna ibitango mbiroro bya bere bikobekwa nene mono kwene kyanga ebinte byo mbirgo kirana asenseli ya Israel ase umurai wense Isaac Hazo kabetega kurusia ebitange bine bikwene kim ngagochaka umutinyogo cha ebinto mbichaka kurwa sense ya Kenya gocha sense meri ya Israel ane mono asense ya mananasi avocado negati ebinto binde ebinge kondo manchumuliria tango sange na barabo to eneki merobelike babeta bakubeka lindo ko eneki ngango tinya baroboncheli gatiye chinsecho ibere.
We remember with profound gratitude and admiration Israel's generosity and solidarity when it gave the emerging Kenyan state in 1963 an emphatic vote of confidence. 2 days before our independence, the State of Israel dispatched Madam Golda Meir, the foreign minister, who joined our prime minister then in laying the foundation stone of your embassy in Nairobi, the first in independent Kenya. That event marked the beginning of a friendship that has steadily grown deeper and stronger encompassing very successful collaboration in various undertakings across many sectors. Over the past 6 decades of growth and stability in the face of formidable challenges, Kenya has flourished impressively and vindicated Israel's early and emphatic show of faith. So broad is the scope of our cooperation and so numerous the undertakings involved that Kenya and Israel resolved to define the facets of its bilateral relations in several critical instruments, including 22 memorandums of understanding covering many sectors. They include defense, security, disaster management, water resource management, irrigation, agriculture, information, and communication technology. But our dynamic relationship continues to blossom, making it necessary for us to remain constantly vigilant of evolving challenges as well as emerging opportunities. This is the reason why our technical teams are at different stages of negotiating an additional 8 memorandum of understanding to cover bilateral engagements in health, environmental protection, and I was very happy this afternoon to join your environmental body in planting trees, management of maritime affairs and exploitation of blue economy, cybersecurity, as well as avoidance of taxation of earnings, among other areas. The level of bilateral trade and the ease of movement of people and goods between our countries has not been consistent with the totality of our common aspiration. However, I am glad to note that following our discussions today, our countries have signed 2 joint declarations of intent on tourism and environmental protection. I am pleased with the consensus reached today by our 2 countries on establishing direct flights as soon as possible between Nairobi and Tel Aviv. These direct flights will not only facilitate trading relations, but will greatly increase the number of tourists visiting both countries. Many of us coming for pilgrimage, and many of you coming to visit the cradle of mankind. Apart from the irresistible touristic offerings of magical Kenya and the Holy Land, there is an abundance of complementary opportunities between us as a thriving regional and continental hub and gateway to East and Central Africa, and Israel, which is a recognized leader in technological innovation that power heavy industrial and civil engineering, smart agriculture, irrigation, security, ICT, and of course, health and medicine. Cybersecurity, particularly, is an important space of cooperation where Kenya can immensely benefit from the Israeli experience and expertise. Mr. President, I also wish to thank you for agreeing during our discussion today on the need to eliminate barriers that have impeded the export of our products into the Israeli market. I am particularly grateful to the Prime Minister, my good friend Bibi, for the assurance he has given today that exports of pineapples will begin early next month from Kenya to Israel. Let me also say that again today we agreed that the impediments and the hurdles that have been on the way.
Inare nkwana yaye omuraibu Ense chinga kiabete kagutarira ase Ense meri ya Israel nabo kubika emirubiri mikirano asoko bwatirana nabo kogenderia chinse chibire abo ni gabete kagutarira Ense meri ya Netherlands asabete kakumerana no muraibu Ense meri Willem Alexander ababete bagukwanira amangana a na kubika emirubiri mikirano chinga kibarachi komenta obonchereria gati ye chinse chibire nyoro monchi muri Ense ya Kenya nige emanyikaine ase okoyo asogo export horticultural products gocha Ense meri ya Netherlands korinde mbabete bakoenekia gati y'ibintu biri barachi komenta Ense meri ya mona Ense moye tugo Ense moye chae Ense moya coffee nabo Ense moya matunda chingeni chinswe nabo Ense meri yetumbato mbabete bakobeke merobelio nakikorwa Ense iri gosimura Ense iri Willem Alexander arachigota ya Kenya aso mutinyo gatano na kabere miyo mucho Nairobi nabo kogendera kubika gosikubika merobelio eli gokinia oboncherere boigo nigo muraibu Ense betega kwenekenga Ense meri ye chae na chigosira Ense meri ya Kericho nabo kwenekina barabunko enyorera bare engeri ebwenerete nkuru ngwego bari amaigilio nakibe bwenete gukinia product yabo ebege kobwenera mono Ense meri ye chai boigo babete bakone kigo chakorwa amaigilio wetera Lipton teas and infusions abara chikorwa amaigilio naboigo kuba menta ujuzi nakibe bwenete gukora Ense meri yo comment quality nabo Ense meri ya parking igo aina arabete kakoene kigwa ase chinse chiri anamona sebaga nitigo kinia obonchorira Ense moye tugo Ense moya coffee echae amatunda chingeni netumbato alafu ne chinsu mwanchumuliria tengo tusange nabaraya bona barobo batoire na Ense moya baba bete bakobeka emirubili mikirano.
In supporting your investments, the government of Kenya has put in place both fiscal and non-fiscal incentives that include, among many things, capital deductions on industrial building, I'm sure you're aware of this, farm work, wear and tear, and investment. Others are in the special economic zones and export economic zones. And if you've been following the developments in Kenya, we are not only relooking at the incentives in our special economic zones and export economic zones, but we are also bringing on board another 5 special and export economic zones in Kenya, in Kirinyaga, for those of you who know the geography of Kenya, in Thika, in Nakuru, in Eldoret, and in Gusii. You will get some details of how those new export and special economic zones will operate and what additional opportunities will be available in those other special economic zones. A specific intervention we have put in this budget is one thing that has always been problematic to our investors, and that is VAT tax returns. It's always been problematic. The decision we have made is that any VAT tax returns that are due and verified, if they are not paid within 6 months by our Kenya Revenue Authority, you are free to deduct whatever amounts from your other tax liabilities. You can pay us minus what we owe you, so that becomes easy. Because we've seen that in some cases, some of the tax refunds have taken a year, sometimes 2 years. So we have taken the liberty from KRA to pay when they want. We have told them they must pay within 6 months. And if they don't pay, you're free to deduct from your other tax liabilities.
I'm very happy that you visit the Netherlands and take the time to meet with the Dutch private sector. The Netherlands and Kenya share a long history of strong economic relations, resulting in that we are the largest export destination for Kenya in Europe, and the third worldwide. More than 125 Dutch businesses are active in your country and already reaping the benefits of doing business with your country. In the Africa strategy that we, as the private sector, developed in the Netherlands aims to double its trade and investment relationship with Africa in the coming years. We look for equal and sustainable trade relations with Africa, not just for our own earning capacity, but more importantly to create impact and broad prosperity in Africa. Within this strategy, Kenya is one of the countries we take a specific interest in with all the opportunities it offers. We have identified that more specifically, cooperation in the field of agri and horticulture, life health and sciences, and water are good areas of common interest.
Mwancho muriere serikali ya Kenya Kwanza nigegendete kubika emirobere amikirano asoko Gusii bali abalimi bwasabene gatinga kero production yakobe nyinge endagere kobe sinus Ense ite ya Kenya igoye ntubwenete ko reduce ni the cost of input yose bintu biri abalimi bagotumeka asoko mbiri expensive gosembire amaguri nsikima asoko no endagere libago chosokya matukabo sitiriyo chikoba liguriri gormono ego asensemo y'abalimi mukonyi bumurebe nseriga digashagwa nabeteka kwenekinga asensemo ya kofigose ekawa mbachikoyerirwa liguriane ngakitwa twanekiringa amagori ekawa beriga kugwana n'imono ase abalimi bekawa bakonyora salenene kubwatikana no kubura gwiciro asaberiga kwenekinga nachikubasegeta sabeteka kotwara egeikaro ni vice president kora sense meli ya Colombia bakaba kubeka emirobere mikirano na kibara kigosira ensemo yekawa Ense ya Kenya na bwekwanekinga amagori yabo ngoncherere balenyora asense meli ya Colombia nigo amagori by the way yekawa rama ya kigima igo ne quality yabo which means ngane quality yabo ni ndonge koba igo ainere mirobere bade serikali gendete kubeka soko nekinga na abo igo Ense ya Kenya ngochigubo koba bali bagonchereria kwenekinga amagori yekawa na ronkoro sigwale gumonchu muriete ngo tusange nera sensemo yaye toiguna kia kwerera
mambo ya kahawa. Kesho nitakuwa na Vice President wa Colombia, nimemwalika hapa Kenya akuje tuongee mambo ya kahawa kwa sababu hawa wamefaulu sana, bei yao iko sawa sawa. Mwezi ujao gavana nimeweka kikao cha stakeholders wote wa kahawa katika Jamhuri ya Kenya huko Meru tariki 6, tariki 7 na tariki 8. Magavana wote wakuwe pale, members of the National Assembly wote wale wanatoka sehemu ambaye zinakuza kahawa wakuwe pale, senators wote wakuwe pale, minister wetu wa agriculture akuwe hapo, minister wa cooperative wakuwe pale, wale wauzaji wa kahawa wakuwe pale, marketers wakuwe pale, roasters wakuwe pale, wataalamu wakuwe pale. Tukitoka Meru tutatafuta suluhisho ya shida ya kahawa, vile wakulima watapata bei. Hapa kwetu hapa gavana hapa tuko factory yetu hapa ya Kaheraini ilifungwa, ya pale Herega ilifungwa, ya Ruiruiru ilifungwa, ya Kabiruine ilifungwa, ya Kiamariga ilifungwa. Iko deni karibu milioni 80. Na hiyo shida ya kahawa na bei iko kila pahali. Kwa hivyo Rais William Ruto alinipatia jukumu la kutafuta suluhisho ya mkulima wa kahawa. Na hii ni kazi ambayo ndugu yangu marehemu Ndito Kashagu alikuwa ameanzia. Na mimi nitangangana naye na ninataka kupatia nyinyi hope that we shall get a solution. How our farmers can get prices that is commensurate to their labor and their effort. Nikimalizia mambo ya pombe tunaendelea naye, na mimi machifu wetu kina Githoi, mnajua nyinyi marafiki yangu.
Mbiamano sana umwanche muri beta seni Ndizi TV chinga kyogendete gusanga na into imiyo morobeli obwense yo bonchereria asitogendete gukumanya ali agendete gwonchereria ase sector yo bonchere twaralirenga amonchereri na manga bereka gokorekana ani mono ase ligoriri skali na baigori goriri obosiri abiri ligokina na baigemirobeli ase serikali magayo korwe proposal asogo chigokinia VAT asense meli ya mafuta igumwanche muri aina tokendete gusanga asomorobeli gakondo mwanche muri na bagingo komanyanga asense moende nigo serikali ya Kenya kwanza yasinyiro goikerani emerobeli yabo anemono ase kubwatikana neli deni libabwate kurwa sense meli ya China ekero koligeryanga nige target yabo se financial year yo mwaka 2023-2024 balengete kokeaniri deni elio ase goikabone gababere bakolikiania ase kerengo gya isano na ibere nukta isato na ibere igoro yemia ekikire ki billion emia ya mo 12 nukta isato na kianda igo nigo serikali kurwa sense meli ya China babete bakupike getango Kenya bantu gochiko kabesa chibesa gwetania ekiagera bado tiraba kego clear asense mechinto bete toko nekimura ibensi kagatanga chinse chinde mchiroro chabere defaulters asebasinyiro gwa kana lideni kulende taganeti Ense ya Kenya echigwikera na ororom kolende twabere tokosanga amango mwancho muliriria eketorochenga besabono iga ase keganja chibesa nigo chitaiyo gose chitaisa ine buyaigo asogo chaka chi project chinya Ense ya Kenya anemonekero kuriria chiparanchirororo wesibesa nchiro chabeta chigo kabeso kora sense meli ya China gochako morubili bukwaga cha chipara anemono mwaka bwechirwo 2014 asense meli ya SGR goikira bono iga etarabage koera kolende nigo Kenya kwanza yaganire era ikirani emerobeli yo nabo igokwaneke ngankorerere litangani magayo gochakana inde chi project chinde ase Ense meli ya financial bill nigo omubunge ndidinyora abirga ko akobolia Ense meli ya serikali ebege kubike emerobeli emeikiranu asokwaneke nga omwaka oyo iga ase financial year ya 2023-2024 na kibago chikorobelia nonyana sense moyo kwaneke nga nkonyorera bali chibese chisaine sokogendelia serikali kondo mwanchi muliria atiango tusange nera sense moya ya toiguna kiakoerera.
The finance bill, the budget estimates, these are not dictatorial booklets. They are not dictatorial documents. Anything that the Treasury brings to the National Assembly, it comes there because National Assembly is a house of debate. And as we debate the finance bill and the estimates, the budget, we listen to the Kenyan people. And that is what we are doing. It is a consultative process. We do not depart to be your servants. We still remain to be your servants. So we keep on consulting.
Oinerense moyaye ndidinyora gakwegerera sense meli ya bunge ikero balete iwe bili na kibako baibwatirana n'abakenya koene kigose kotegerera nabarwa sense mo ya maganiabo nyuma yo gwetia bili yo umunsi murigeria antoro cha sense mo yo maraibense kerale kwegerera chinga kyale kwegerera Ense mo yo konachwa enibo asekerengo gya 3% igore yemia asabete gakwane kingo ino morobili serikali nonya turaba gugwetigwa asense meli ya bunge no chikotuara obuyo bonge anemo na sokwene kinga chinyomba chikwaga cyo ne chekerengo yense kigima nabo igokwane kinga bali babutabwati emirimo anemo na sense mo yabasaye ngo chibale kwenyorera emirimo kigima igo einere emirobili gendete kubekwa sokwene kinga amabaga yemirimo ngo tokale nabo igasokwene kinga uchumi ya Kenya ngo chire goncherire nabo igokwane kinga obosalia sense mende mbochikuira nanse kondo mwanchu muliria county ya Siaya nerotera tigara maiga soko beke merobeli mekeranu nabo igokwane kyanga nabaro buchumi yabo ngo timwera sense meche tari gosangerelie bango gwoka ngo bane kiringa mbachigosira balemia sokorwa amaigelio nabo igokwane kinabaro bwe endagera bagosokya nigere isene nyoro mwanchu muliria tobiri tokole endagera kurwa sense chirichesiko sana bango gotebinga go ikera bono ige bituma okubinyora so mutoliro gochakari igoriri mie ya mone 90 wika chimi ibere igo manchu mulene ligoriri obosintu arabantu abagatebya abandi batenga chiri ikire 200 igo chinsemo ani gochibwata amagori akero kurire na inde bituma ndorora Ense Nyamira Milas gose bali bagosi bakorera ngamba bwati bituma bisaine nabwo tukarora Ense moyo Ense gakwaneki ngabete gakorusie subsidy korwa Ense Nyamira Milas kegera tebite ngara ni gaga nitigosira balimi basoki endagire isaine igo Ense mende ni gabete gakorusie subsidy Ense Nyamira moyo nabwo kwaneki ngabalimi ngonyora bale amoyo asirigurire Ense kima ase ogokinyo bulimi bwabo nabwo kwaneki ngama tukabosio ntoligo cyo cyandika Ense Nyamira endagera nabo kwaneki endagera nige gochigwisana no nyasi nsemo chichinde chibwate umurakera abali bagosoki endagera niko barachiko supply gocha se chinse mecho rather than kugura se chikorwa chinse chirichesko bayigo Ense mende nige dollar egendete kuira nanse aso bonchore naro bwabiro bokongo kero koligereria nga eshiringi ya Kenya nero nige gendete kwa week lakini kerende ntumaitenga ebintu bichigonchorerie 20 negendete kobekwa sokaneki nga shiringi ya Kenya ngochiere gotinga kabisa akolne kuligiria se county ya Siaya nigo mugavana be county ya Ense abamenyi Ense meyo gochikobasira sensemo yo bolemi kwaneke ngango soki bale endagire se nigo monchu mulira tengo to sange na baroboto igwa sensemo yabona kibakorera.
It was going then to be the roadmap, which now we are going to granularize. And as I hear you people contributing, a lot of the contributions here are actually embedded in the CIDP in terms of how they're going to be prioritized and into annual, the development programs, budget programs, and each year.
The idea of validation. It is important that when you develop something, you have the opportunity to validate it. Because it's in validation that you can either confirm the soundness of what you've developed, the accuracy and the legitimacy.
Kenya has been investing 3%, 2% in agriculture. How do you expect agriculture to be the backbone when you are not investing in it? You know, investment, that national government, but now we have our own government, which is the devolved government. How much? Because we have talked of adding tractors, but then we want to see that in percentage of the whole development agenda. How much of that are you investing in agriculture?
Budget 1 and 2, and we are spending more than 300 million shillings, which is more than 10%. In CI, we have achieved it because we use that money towards mechanization. We acquired tractors. We put more than 120 million on seeds, certified seeds, that in order to transform Siaya, we think that agriculture is going to play a key role.
Mancho murigereria ina ragendete gokorekana ase sekteri yo boncheria astoro chenga Ense mo yebango nigegendete koreta amaburi amange saba Kenya baganiti komanyanga ebange bagwa kananka yegocha akoriru mancho murigereria nabagingo gotenga IMF nigegendete kobeka machika makongu gocha Ense ya Kenya eyo era irere umuraibense gotagendera gukabesa ekertoro chengana ne lideni Ense mo eriyo eri kabesa ligendete gokina sibonegeria bereri goika 8.8 trillion gochie ligirigete gochia 6 trillion kianda kero mwako oyiga toro chenga GDP ya Kenya nigere 14%. Nabo iga Ense meliende nigo ebango yaberige korusigwa ase chinsemo ndoro chumuraibense gakwaneki nga chinsemo nchirora beriga korusie bango kolende nara Ense mende narora aberiga ko increase bange yo anomono Ense mende nigo toro chenga o kabesa nigo kogendeta gu affect Ense kegima ase umuraibense aberiga kwaneki nga taligo chiko kabesa bono iga kolende mwancho murigereria Ense meliende nabango gotenga chi project nchirora chitachi kogendera kubwatekana no kulemerwa ase Ense ya Kenya anamono mono asensemeli echibesa keroro chengano ene kiganja gya serikali nigo kigendete kwene kinga nkebugati besa lakini kulende mbagendete kubika emirobere asoko ene kinga mbachikoikeraniwe ekerengo kelibaganire asomwa koyiga kulende kigambero nigo gyateneniri ansemeli ya kiare asoko menta gusangereria chibango kurwase chinsemo nyora asensemeli ya mache nabo iga asensemeli ebia bali bakunywa ebinyongo byo gutinda keligi ebia amacha yiga yechuba ntobe toko ene kinga bagatebanga ebinte biga basubate bagotumika asensemeli ya cosmetics biri byo gwebodo bibwenderete bimenterwe tax asekerengo ya 5% korende kegambero ngyabetege kurugo chika goteneni kiare kogendera komenta sichinseme chebanga asbago tebanga bada ba Kenya bagendete go strain na economy igogo chaka komenta ebinte ebyo nigera chikubabera kongu ase abandi barachikobitiga twarire none chi reaction asandu bagatanga bono twatigire konywe skali of course nabugotiga konywe skali obukumalende notigi koragera nyero togukora weekend ma utarari okuma anamana asomo Gusii kolendo mwancho muligereria abunongo ikira omoeli obomurobiri bweli tukolia rero nincengo manye amange nara yagendeta gokorekana asendo chenga ebinto bado mbigendeta kokongasi chichiro chito anamono ekero ebunge era chigwetia 16% VAT anto chikoligereria sensemo ya mafuta magoli na kiara chigonchereria kondo mwancho muri goikirabo nongo ikira omoeli bwe murobiri bweli tukolia rero nyara sensemo chichi mitandao asensemo ya Facebook nabago tunyara gwetera Ndizi TV News Digital nabaga sensemeri ya YouTube gwetera Ndizi TV News hasensemo ya website nabago tunyara gwetera www.ndizitv.net etotele ne Fridah Kerubo ngukuganiria obuligereria obuya